You're listening to the Master Passive Income Podcast Network. Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. This is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you create wealth, afford anything you want in life by investing in real estate, and achieve financial freedom. And in today's show, we're going to be talking to a fantastic commercial real estate investing expert who's going to show us how we can profit off a potential recession, off these high interest rates, and these distressed properties which people have to sell because they're getting hurt. And we're going to show you how you can profit when everything is going bad for everybody else. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast, where we talk about investing in real estate with a special focus on making enough money so you can quit your job and live the dream life. And now, here's your host, Dustin Heiner.
What's up? What's up? Super blessed as always to have you here with me on the show. Now, there's some exciting things going on in the economy, in the market. Now, the big thing is that I'm saying, and the reason why I brought on my guest today is because there's trouble in the economy. I see a lot of problems, and in fact, there's some distressed sales going on in not just single family homes, but commercial real estate, which is going to be tremendous for us and, us as investor, you and me. I want you to be profiting. And that's why I've been having this podcast since 2015 is when I first started the podcast, late 2015, 2016, really just showing you, hey, there's going to be a fantastic, amazing, super amazing, better than 2010 time to invest in real estate. And honestly, it's looking like it's going to happen. It's really, really close. Not saying it's going to be a crash. I mean, at best, it's going to be a correction. Prices are going to come down. Interest rates are going to come down. So we're going to be buying a lot of properties. And sadly, people in the economy will be getting hurt. But if you've been listening to me, and hopefully you have, you've been prepared and you're getting prepared for a great time to invest in real estate. So what I'm seeing right now is I'm seeing a lot of distressed commercial properties. And what I've seen, personally, just my experience since 2006, commercial properties usually are a little lagging behind single-family homes. Well, we saw in the last, 6 months to a year, single-family homes have been stalling. Stalling meaning sale prices. Sale prices are coming down, as well as there's not many people trying to sell their homes because they know they can't sell it. And so if they sold it, they get a lower or higher interest rate if they bought another house. Now, commercial real estate at the same time, commercial real estate's actually looking so much better. You guys know I just closed in March. In May. In May, I closed on a 355-unit apartment complex with my partners, Jason and Pili Urusi. Terrific people. They're actually coming and speaking at Rubicon Multifamily, which you need to be there. Get the link in the description. I'll literally give you 20% off your pass. So link will be in the description. The promo code will be in the description, but you need to be there with us. Now, just yesterday, I got a call from a friend of mine. Her name is Annie Dickerson. I've known her since 2019, I think. Seen her before she started really getting really good into real estate investing. And she is big time in the commercial real estate investing. In fact, because of her, that's how I got into the hotels investing space. So I now invest in hotels. And she reached out to me and said, hey, Dustin, we have a distressed property. Basically, the sellers really need to sell the property. They were trying to, a little backstory on this property that they have, that people are trying to, or want to sell it to them, and they are coming to me and seeing if I want to be a part of this deal. Well, 2 years ago, this seller was trying to sell it to Annie and her company, Good Egg, for $17 million, like $17.7 million is what they were trying to sell it for 2 years ago. Well, now, Annie and her company, Good Egg, like I said, they're good friends of mine. I'm looking at this property and saying, this might be a really fantastic potential opportunity to invest because they have it under contract for $13 million. So a huge haircut or, drop in price. And this is why I'm bringing up that there's a change in the economy. You see what's happening with interest rates. Oh my goodness, inflation every year was like 7, 8, some year, one year was like 10% month after month. Well, over time, if you add up all the different amounts of inflation, everything's up like 30 to 40, if not 50%. And so people are getting pinched. When people get pinched, they stop spending money. Our economy is built on people spending money. As they spend money, it's called the velocity of money. One person buys something, and that next person uses that same money to buy something else, and then that person buys something else. It's basically money moving. When money stops, that's when problems happen in the economy. And that's why the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, lowers interest rates, prints money, all that stuff. Well, what I'm saying is people are starting to get hurt and they're not spending as much money. That is an indication that for us, there might be some trouble in the economy. Now, if you've been doing exactly what I've been telling you, cutting out your expenses, getting rid of your debt, investing in real estate, building your business, and you know that you can invest in real estate because you've already been doing it, or you're prepared by getting education, finding the right people to work with. If you have all of these things in place and hopefully having access to capital, like I have a home equity line of credit of $250,000 on my primary residence because I wanted to have access to be able to buy a house and then refinance and pull that cash out. It's the cash, not your cash that you saved up, for your whole life and then spent to buy a property. No, it's access to cash in general. It could be your grandma's cash. It could be your home equity line of credit. If you're ready, this is going to be a fantastic time to invest in real estate. But this is another screaming deal. And honestly, there's going to be so many more coming. We just need to be ready to gobble up all these properties, and it's going to be fantastic. And you also need to be at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, the Multifamily Commercial Real Estate Investing Edition. We are playing Monopoly. We start with single-family homes, but we also grow into other asset classes like hotels, apartment complexes, storage facilities, mobile home parks, like you name it. We invest in commercial as well. And that's where the real wealth, that's where the real money's made, is when you get the economies of scale and you scale out to bigger properties just like in Monopoly. And I'm going to help you do it. So join me at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, the Multifamily Edition. And today I'm bringing on a fantastic real estate investing expert friend of mine, known him since, 2018, I think. 2018, fantastic guy, great real estate investor as well. He's coming to speak at Rubicon Multifamily. Then you need to be there to meet him. But he is a big-time commercial real estate investor. And that's the reason why I'm bringing him on, is to show you what else is other people are seeing. Like, I'm not just the one seeing it. Other people are seeing. The people that are actually investors. We are seeing now those gurus, quote unquote gurus on Instagram and TikTok, they might not see it. They might not see anything that we're doing, but we're actual investors. So that's what we're saying. Okay, I'm rambling. Sorry. Let's get on to it. Now I'm bringing on my friend, Paul David Thompson. He is a good friend of mine, and we're going to be talking about how you can profit as people are getting hurt. These distressed properties are coming, and how you can get into commercial real estate and make so much more wealth. All right, here we go.
What's happening in the marketplace, Dustin?
So what I'm seeing in the marketplace, a couple of different things. One thing that I'm really, really seeing is that if you're an investor, you need to be excited because it's easy to invest in 2021, 2022 because the market's going up. People I could just fall into a property and make money. Let's say it's a short-term property, which we've seen so many Instagram and TikTok gurus come on since 2021 saying,
Sure.
I have 4 properties and I make $1 million. Well, it was easy back then. Now, here's the great thing. So for commercial real estate, as well as even single family homes, I see a stagnation in the, amount of people that are buying it. Like there's so few deals right now.
Transactions are way down. Yeah.
Yes, it's way down. But what's happening is because of the interest rates. Now, what I'm totally seeing is that I'm excited for the next year, 24 months. Like next 2 years, there's going to be so many deals. Let me quickly, one last thing I want to give because I want you to jump in. I bought a 355 unit apartment complex I was general partner with other general partners, and we bought it for 60 cents on the dollar because the seller was distressed. They had another project they were losing money on. They needed to sell this. They owned it for 14 years. Like, let's just offload it. But we bought it for 60% of the market value. So we captured 40% in equity. And this is a $32 million property. So I'm seeing that for single family homes. And then especially for apartment complex, because I know Brandon Turner, he has, he touts, I have 15,000 units or whatever it might be.
Sure.
But he literally stopped all distributions. And probably, I'm not saying he will, but just like lots of other companies, syndicators, they're like salesmen. They flip apartment complexes. They flip multifamily, and so they
Totally.
just kept getting deals and deals and deals and deals they should not have gotten. And now they're going to have to sell those or fire sell or be taken back from the bank. So I'm super excited that these distressed properties, you and we're going to be able to buy them up.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing. So we talk to a lot of people. I mean, I'm in the market. We have clients that are in the market. It's hard to find deals, and when they are deals, they're screaming hot deals because you find the person at the right time who's they've exercised every other option and they just need out.
If you're listening, you might be thinking, well, why do they need to get out? The biggest
Right.
reason they need to get out is if you buy a single family home, you get 30-year fixed, you just keep going and eventually it's paid off. Commercial, totally different. It could be a
Right.
storage facility, it could be a mobile home park. Like think of commercial as commercial real estate. An apartment complex is obviously the same thing. They got in bad loan. Let's say bad. They got in loans thinking that they could refinance or they can sell the house or the property very, very quickly. And it's a 3 to maybe 5 years is
Balloon.
usually the term, or they have to refinance or sell. And now those people that bought in 2021, well, that 3 years is coming up, especially the ones that got a hard money type of
Yeah.
loan,
A
which
short-term
now
loan.
3 years. Yes.
Yeah, it's the short-term, high interest loans, and they can't refinance it some of the lower because now the interest rates are higher, or they got really good terms 3 to 5 years ago, and now the balloon's coming due, and the new interest rate makes it so that they can't cash flow.
And they can't sell it. They can't sell it for more than they bought it for because that's always the goal. Remember,
Right.
like you and I are investors. We're not syndicators. Syndicators, they're flippers. That's really basically what they try to do.
Yeah.
But I'm an investor. And so when I invest, I make sure I capture equity. These syndicators, they were paying top dollar for these properties because they knew they made money when they brought cash in from
Hmm.
investors. They made money and then on the transaction. And so you and I, like I'm licking my lips like this is going to be so delicious.
Hmm.
All these properties are going to be on the market, all even single family homes. The same thing, like these Airbnb properties that 2021 people just started buying all of them. There are 50,000 Airbnb and short-term properties in Arizona alone, just Arizona, let alone all the other huge cities that have so many. Well, these were long-term properties for long-term tenants or
Yeah.
buy and hold, which those are off the market now. Well, they're so saturated now that Airbnb, they lost 20% in stock on the stock market, on their price of their stock
Yeah.
in like 4 weeks or 3 weeks. Like it just crashing because they are losing money. So I'm seeing so many great things. Right? Like, you might be thinking, listening to it, oh my goodness, there's so many bad things going on. Yes, but if you are doing or causing this bad thing, you're participating, which Paul and I don't. And obviously, if you listen to Paul's show, you don't do the same thing as they're doing. You're doing what we would do as investors, being wise and buying the right properties.
Yeah. Let's clarify the whole syndication thing. So, uh, are you saying that you won't syndicate, or you're just not an air quote syndicator?
Syndicator, I am not by far.
Right.
I'm an investor
Right.
and I won't invest my money in something that's not good. And I won't syndicate or like bring on any investors if I'm not investing my own money.
Right.
Because Paul, you and I, we have a lot of integrity. And if I lost my money, which I've lost plenty of money before, it'd be a
Hmm.
bummer, but I would hate to lose somebody else's money. And so I only bring on deals because I've invested in some deals that aren't doing very well and
Sure.
somebody else's deal. That's a
Yep.
bummer, but I
Yep.
didn't bring it out to other people.
Right.
But I don't mind bringing on investors. I'm not syndicating. I'm literally bringing on investors to me to be a part of everything that I'm doing. Does that make sense?
So they're either JV partners or like co-sponsors in a deal with you.
Yes, yeah, they or LPs. Like I'm totally fine
Okay.
with somebody. I just want to park my money with you, Dustin, because I trust you. I'm
Right.
like, please go right ahead. In fact, for the 355 unit apartment complex we bought right outside of Nashville, I sent out a few emails, a couple podcast episodes on my show, raised $1.5 million, and so I was
Right.
like, man, that was first time ever doing it. I was like, man, that was pretty fun. But the biggest thing was everybody literally said, I'm investing in you. Now this deal looks great, but I'm investing in you. The last thing I want is my integrity or reputation to falter. And so I'm only bringing deals that I'm like, this is either a home run or a grand slam.
Same. So I have not nearly the size of that property, but I have a property that's under contract that has some upside to it, but I'm buying it for the native cash flow, right?
But
And we're
did you say
qualified
negative cash flow?
native cash flow.
Native, got it. Got
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, no, we don't want negative cash flow.
it. It's like, Paul, that doesn't sound like you. Negative.
Words that I hope will never come out of my mouth. Is I went and purposely bought negative cash flow. It's like, oh,
Yes.
it's like never buy an alligator.
So
Oh,
I also right now have another property that I might become a GP on. Annie
uh,
Dickerson, we're
yeah, yeah.
friends with them. She asked me to be a part of this another property,
Mhm,
and I was looking at the cash flow was amazing on this property, and so I'm really strongly considering it. And like I said, well, right now I was just talking to an attorney and a syndication attorney. She focuses on multifamily commercial properties. And she
mhm.
said there's so little deal flow right now. Like her business is not doing well, or sorry, that's a rough way to say it. She's seen better days is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah.
But because there's so few deals going on right now, and that means, and I want to pause for a quick second and share that honestly, I really want you to invest in real estate. Now, my new goal is to help 1 million people invest in real estate. So, two things I would ask from you. Number one, if you get anything out of this episode, please share it with somebody else. Just say, hey, check out Dustin and Master Passive Income. He really wants to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. That's number one. Number two, I want to get you to invest in real estate. Get my real estate investing course absolutely for free. Text the word rental, RENTAL to 33777. Rental to 33777. I'll literally give you my course, show you how to find an area of the country to invest, how to build the business first. I always talk about that, and how to find the right properties, how to make sure you're getting experts to do the work for you, and scale the business to where you're making $250 or more in passive income. Scale it to quit your job. I'll literally get to you, or go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. Obviously, it'll be in the description, but I really, really want you to invest in real estate, because the more that actual normal everyday people own real estate that are good landlords, the better everybody's life gets. That there are people just given enough time, another 6 months, you're going to start seeing a lot of capital calls from these syndicators. You're also going to see properties hit the market that you and I are going to be gobbling up.
I think a lot of people are actively waiting and expecting for the Fed to lower rates. And like we're coming up, even by the time this comes out, we may have news about if they actually lowered the rates for the first time in September. What whoever's listening to this is going to have foreknowledge based on what we're saying right now. What do you think? What did your tea leaves say?
So I definitely know that, or at least no, when I say no, I'm like almost 99% certain that they're going to lower rates. And we got an election year, and
Yeah,
any incumbent is always going to try to make the economy better so it looks
yeah,
better on them, which is completely understandable. That's just what they want to do, and they push the
yeah.
Fed and all that sort of stuff, which the Fed is just a bunch of banks. It's not a federal like organization, part of our government. It's just a bunch of
It's the
banks.
non-federal Fed.
It is. So what I'm seeing is rates will come down, but it's not going to come down enough to save these companies, because the reason why rates are coming down is because the Fed is seeing problems in the economy.
Yeah.
When problems come in the economy, there's not loose money anymore where investors, oh, syndicator brought me a deal. Yeah, you said 9% preferred return. Great. Let's go ahead and, put money in there. There's not, people are gun shy now. People are
Mhm.
really gun shy because they've been burned by, like, just imagine you said, I'm going to flip houses, or I'm going to invest in somebody who flips houses. But then eventually this house flipper gets stuck with a house because the market drops. Doesn't matter what interest rate is. People just aren't buying. Then you're stuck. Same thing with these multifamily properties, commercial properties. Now, as you and I invest, if people listen to your show and they start, how does Paul invest? If you're listening, that's what you should be thinking. How does Paul invest? How does Dustin invest? We're
Mhm.
going to tell you how we invest, because we're protecting our money, and we're going to protect your money just like it's ours.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. When you do raise capital from investors and they invested in your fund, in your deal, in your syndication, I take that very personally. They put a lot of faith in you, and like you said, they're investing based on the trust that they have built in you, and that they think that the deal may have some merit. But they're really investing in you because you've put yourself out there, and in my case, I put myself out there as somebody who's experienced, who's been around for a while, right?
Absolutely. And
How many years now have you been in the business?
2006, I started investing in real estate, bought a couple small multifamilies, but mostly residential. I love residential long term. I mean,
Yeah,
there's so many great things about residential. One
sure.
biggest thing now that I'm older, I have 5 kids now, I will literally give these properties to my kids. You
Yeah.
know, when you have multifamily, it's a little harder to do that. And so, bread and butter, residential, make lots of money, give those to my kids. Now, I've been doing multifamily for, well, small multifamilies for a long time now, but now getting into larger deals
The larger scale. Yeah.
in yeah, larger scale in the last maybe 6 months to a year.
hmm Yeah, I made that transition as well, from single family where I cut my teeth, and and then later saw some advantages of multifamily or commercial. What were your reasons for making the switch? Because there's pros and cons, and let's maybe talk about those.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I loved growing up was playing Monopoly. Getting with my parents and my brother, and we would play Monopoly. And now my kids are playing Monopoly, and that's stuck with me. It's how like somebody smart, more than likely, did invest in real estate or knew something about real estate. It's a game all about real estate, and the way you win is you make more money by having bigger properties, eventually getting a multifamily like hotels. So 2 or 3 years ago, I invested in some hotels, which was fun. I got to I accomplished Monopoly. I,
You
I didn't
actually have
own
more
them.
hotels.
Yes, I actually did invest in some hotels. But that was the whole thought was, when I have single family homes, those are fantastic, but there are some downsides. When you have multifamily, those are fantastic too. There are downsides. As a real estate investor, everybody needs to have, yeah, I believe, a bread and butter. This is something that you personally can do and you know so well because there's so many different asset classes. You can
Mm.
also start investing in other asset classes like storage facilities to
Yep.
mobile home parks to hotels. But you don't have to be the expert in that. And that was a great thing about creating the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference was I got so many more people around me, experts like you, Paul, that I literally do not want to be the one finding properties. I honestly don't even want to do any underwriting. Like that's not me. I'm more of a people person.
Yeah.
I'm more asset management too because I like doing that, but I love raising capital. And so for me, what I realized was I can grow into other assets, but I don't have to be the expert.
hmm
And that was easily the way that I jumped into everything. And so now I'm also looking if the economy does change, is I would love to get in storage facilities because sadly, if people lose their homes, they got to park their stuff somewhere. And storage facilities are going to be really good, in my opinion.
hmm Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So there's a couple points there that I would like to reinforce. One of the things that I like to tell folks is invest in what you natively understand, or invest in what you understand the most. And I like when I'm speaking, I'll raise the questions like everybody who listening to this, raise your hand if you lived in an apartment, a house, or a mobile home. And so, of course, the answer is everybody. So you natively understand it, like you know what a
Yep.
kitchen is and what people want in a kitchen, right? There's less to learn. Whereas when you're jumping to storage or different type like retail or like or warehouses, I mean, it's just a different business because you don't know the demand and what's good and what's bad as readily for most people,
Well, and I don't want to learn that whole new thing.
right?
You know what I mean? Now, when I was younger and I was really young, like I learned all about multifamily. So I know how to do it because I was really
Yeah,
close to buying a property. Long story short, I learned it, but I don't want to be the expert in that. Now, I'm expert
I
in
see.
single family home, 4 units residential. Love that. I'm expert
Uh-huh.
in that. But I don't want to learn something brand new, especially as you get older. Let's say if you're 60 years old, you're like, man, I'm going to retire soon. I need to have a better nest egg or whatever it might be. Well, partnering with people or investing with other people who are the experts that you trust. That's the
hmm
big, like, obviously Paul. Paul's trustworthy, just like myself. We hold our integrity very, very high. That's why Paul and I get along so well, among many other reasons.
hmm
And so if you are in that boat, it's like, more than likely you don't want to learn something all brand new. Now, if you do, great,
More power to
jump
you.
all
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Now, and Paul, you're going to come speak at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference that we're putting on in November. It's the multifamily and commercial real estate investing conference. And we're putting that on because we had so many people asking for more detailed, more
Really.
like strategy. Yeah, more tactics on how to do multifamily. And I saw a huge opportunity in the market that we're getting entering the best time to be investing in real estate. There's going to be pennies on the dollar, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I was that was kind of where I was going next with my curiosity is w- you're already doing the wealth builders conference that is kind of is it's real estate, but it's not asset class specific, right? You could
Correct.
it's more beginner level and it's for like anybody in your it's like a smorgasbord of options, right? And then you're like, hey, we're doing this thing in is it Denver, right?
Yep.
You told me you should book your flights. You should come out to Denver. And I was like, well, what for? And it was like, well, we're doing a commercial thing, and you do commercial, so well, you should come speak. Like, how crazy are you to run another conference? And you did it again with like very short notice.
Yeah, I am either a glutton for punishment or it's just a passion, which it's the latter. I
Yeah,
honestly, it's a passion of mine to help people. And I'm also pretty ambitious, meaning not like making money. It's like I can do this. Like I didn't want to wait till 2025 to do it. I was
right.
thinking, you know what? We came off of Rubicon 25 in March, the one
Hmm.
that you're saying it's all asset classes, really, really strong. Had a great turnout. We should be able to do a multifamily conference. And I want to start it as quickly as possible so we can get momentum because I really want to help 1 million people to invest in real estate, whatever asset class it is. This is just another iteration of how I can do that. And I want the multifamily conference to be where people are starting now. Because if you start after the big wave of great investment and deals, if you start after that, you might catch a little bit.
Yeah.
But what I want people to do, just like surfing, I went surfing this last weekend. I was on the coast and I was teaching my kids how to surf. And when you're surfing, you do not wait for the wave to get to you and then expect to catch it if you have not built up any
You have to see it
momentum. You
coming.
haven't, yes, you see it coming and then you start paddling. You paddle before the wave gets to you. And then once it gets you, then it picks you up and you already have the momentum you take off. That's the same thing with education, contacts, like network, other people around you, other experts, people that are doing it with you. And that's why I created the conference because I see something coming and I want to get as many people on board as possible.
Success loves speed. It loves
Sure does.
speed.
Yep.
And business success loves speed and focus. That's what I found.
That's something that you and I both definitely share is the focus. Like once I get, I usually always get just so focused on a goal, a task, whatever it might be, a deal. I literally can't stop. I literally
I
can't
would
stop.
not
I
want to be
constantly
in front of you in an obstacle. That's for sure. You lift weights, man. You would just run right through me. I would not want to be in front of that obstacle. Holy smokes. Hmm.
So what
Okay,
are you
so
seeing in the market? Because I talked a little
okay,
bit about what are you seeing in the market?
we'll share a lot of the same sentiments. So, um, we're seeing transaction volume down. We're seeing the opportunity right now, not the one that's coming. The opportunity right now is seller financing. So
Huge.
what we're doing now is we're actively looking for commercial deals, and we have like a three-step questionnaire or rubric that we're going through. Can I buy at a deep discount for cash? Can I assume great long-term debt that's at really favorable rates, or sub two, preferably assumable, because I don't want to play the game of do on sale with a big commercial transaction. Or the third one, which is my favorite and which we end up finding the most of, is seller financing. And I'm talking like 3% interest rate seller financing. But I'm paying the seller's price. But I'm getting terms that work for me that make a cash flow with as little money down as possible. And I stretch out the payments as long as they'll let me.
How are you finding those deals? Because that sounds amazing. I 100% agree, especially say single family homes. Subject to is going on right now, and it's going to go gangbusters pretty soon.
Yep.
If the economy does change, where it's going to be bad, people are losing their homes or losing their
Yep.
jobs, it's going to be fantastic. But how are you finding those deals? Is it knocking on doors like these larger apartment complexes, 50, 60 units?
Mm. I like that size, 1560. So I think you're looking for the mom and pop owners. So between 5 and 50 is probably ideal. But it could be other asset classes like mobile home parks or RV parks or any sort of small business that a mom and pop might own. And we're ideally targeting baby boomers. 65. There are 10,000 people a day turning 65 in the U.S. The vast majority of
Wait, wait,
them,
wait. Say that one more time. How many?
10,000 people a day
Oh my
are
goodness.
turning 65. So the baby boomer was a boomer generation. There's a bunch of people born in a short amount of time, and that wave is now retiring, and they're aging, retiring, and there's like $78 trillion of assets that the boomer generation owns that over the next 10 to 20 years will be transitioning from boomers to Gen Xers and millennials. So will all that wealth transfer? No, some of it will actually disappear. So what we want to do is we want to catch some of those small businesses and let the cash flows of the business pay for our pay for us buying the equity from them.
Well, you said a word, two words, could be however you write it, but cash flow, that is key, 100% key. Now, I know people say, okay, yeah, you can buy a not cash flowing property because you have lots of extra income that you need to get taxable or no, the taxable income taken away. But
Mhm.
just like why would you start a business to lose money? Like if you're going
Right.
to teach your kid how to sell candy bars and make money, okay, son, buy it for $1, you sell it for 50 cents. That's how you, no, 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 you're losing money. You don't do that. You want to make money in cash flow. And that's what they say is cash is king. Well,
Hmm.
it's people might try to change however that's worded, but it's absolutely right. If your business does not have cash, it goes out of business. If you
Very
can't
quickly.
pay
Very
for your,
quickly.
yeah, very, very quickly, especially if
Yeah.
somebody says, well, I have extra income over here from my job, my W-2, like a doctor, or whatever. And
Mhm.
I'm going to buy this house and then I'm going to have this huge mortgage payment, but it's going to be great because I make. What if you don't have that job and then you have this debt? And so you always, or at least my suggestion, that's why I love Master Passive Income, like the brand that I created a long time ago, was
Yep.
I want to master the passive income, the cash flow side, because that's what I feed my family on. That's why I don't have to work a job. And so if you buy any asset that doesn't cash flow, you're going to be hurting yourself in the end. That's and so you brought up a couple of things that you're looking for in deals, like one capturing equity, like a huge discount. Cash flow is another great one that we're looking for. We if it doesn't have cash flow, we don't even consider it.
Right. Well, yeah, and you want to step into a deal or a business where there's cash flow, and you get to basically have the cash flow in exchange for management and maybe a small down payment. In some cases, our down payments are actually very, very small. So we're putting limited amount of cash out of our pocket, and we're stepping into a business that they're done. And if you don't buy it from them, they're just going to shut the doors. So they can't cash in their equity. So you have all the leverage and all the negotiating power because they need it worse than you do. And you know how to show up and make an offer that works for both you and them and allows them to retire off into the sunset with a stream of cash flow from business that they don't have to worry about anymore.
You brought up a great point. So a lot of people might think, okay, if I'm going to buy a house, apartment complex, whatever it might be, if I'm going to buy an asset
Hmm.
and I'm going to pay them, let's say 60% of what it's worth, 70% of what it's worth,
Sure.
somebody might be thinking, well, shoot, I'm like stealing it from them, man. I feel bad. Like, no, 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 no. You have no idea what the person, the seller, what circumstances are. You might be their knight in shining armor
Right.
because their situation might be horrible, and you buying it 60%, it's the best deal that they can find. They're going to thank you. So this has happened plenty of times for me and my students. I know for you as your students as well, is we look to see as best as we can to help
Hmm.
the seller. That's the biggest thing that we need to realize about real estate, about anything in general. Actually, it's about people. If you
Yeah.
focus on the person, how can I help them get what they want? If I can benefit and they can benefit, then that's fantastic. So keeping that thought in your mind, if you're going to seller financing, subject to whatever it might be, where
Hmm.
you might be thinking, I might be hurting these people. No, no, no. If they don't want it, they'll tell you, no, I don't want it. You might be their knight in shining armor.
Yes, I could not agree more. This is like salt of the earth people that have built their lives around this business in many cases, and they've been able to raise their families around it. And but they never planned for an exit. And some people did, but the vast majority of them
Most don't.
didn't think about that, and they maybe thought that they would give it to their kids. Their kids aren't interested for whatever reason, they're just not interested, and it's not going to become a family asset because there's no one to run it. And so they're looking for ways to sell it. And you asked me a while ago, like, where do you find these things? Well, you can market for it, but you can also just go to Crexy.com and do a search nationwide and type in the word seller financing. Hundreds, if not thousands of them will show up. Just commercial real estate, not all the other assets, just commercial real estate. Hundreds, maybe thousands of options will pop up. And obviously you don't want them all, but it's there. Like I did it last week and there were 518 listings in the US that said seller financing in the title. So of that list, and so that's just seller. I could have typed in owner financing or owner will carry, you can always do different terms, right? What you can put in there. Okay. So here's the key. Just because someone says seller financing, they've put a label up there saying, I will seller finance. That doesn't mean that there aren't other hundreds, if not thousands of opportunities out there that you could offer seller financing, but they don't know what that means yet.
I've noticed that when I use up or bring up the words seller financing, it can get a little, they don't understand it. They don't know what it
Most people
means.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing that, like, if you want to, so if more than likely, if you're
Here's some
listening to this,
coaching
you're an
coming. You
investor.
better listen up. Yeah.
Yeah,
You better drop
exactly.
some coaching.
More than likely, if you're listening to this, you're an active investor, and you're like, man, how do I actually approach these people, these mom and pops, these
Yeah.
boomers that they're retiring? So if you approach them, oh, let's do seller financing, we'll make you the bank and all that sort of, like, if you start going in that direction, it doesn't really help necessarily so much. First thing, before you even talk about seller finance and bring up the thought of seller financing, you need to ask them, what can I do for you? Like, how can I help you? What would you like to see? Because that helps you to know how to structure your offer. You don't offer, okay, seller financing right away. No. The first thing, remember, it's about people. Real estate's about people. So what you do is you figure out what they need. If you figure out what they need and can solve that, then you're going to have a huge success. Now, also, when you're thinking about seller financing, that term is not very it's hard to understand for a lot of people. The person owning it might be thinking, well, it's a lot of work on my end. We don't know what the connotation of what they understand seller financing means. Instead of saying seller financing, my suggestion is you could say, well, hey, I can pay cash, which means I could buy it outright, get a mortgage and all that sort of stuff. I can pay cash, but here's another option. We could do terms. That's the thing. Instead of seller financing, say terms, or we can structure a deal that pays you out over time, which is going to be beneficial. So we could do cash or we could do terms. Then they'll say, well, what does that mean? Then you're able to explain a lot more. So I've just found the term seller financing, unless they put it in Crexy, in the title, seller financing. Now, if let's say you're doing yellow letters to single family homes, and somebody calls up and they're like, mom and pop, or grandma, yeah, I'm looking to sell. Well, that's great. And you start talking, you figure out what they need. They'd rather have a little bit more money, a long term, as opposed to a quick buyout right now. Like, great. Well, we could do some terms on that. Do you know what that means? This is what I would say. We could, I could pay for cash, or we can do terms. Do you know what that means? Oh, no, I don't know what that means. Well, here's the option. What we could do is I could pay you over time. It basically explains seller financing. So that's something that I've seen work so much better than just say, hey, would you like to do seller financing?
Yeah, especially for a single family. Most people who own single family, they're not business owners, and this may be the only property they've ever owned, and so they don't know. And there's the same principle I think applies to commercial assets, just not as much, right? They're more likely to understand payment terms or installment payments, and the term
They're more
that we
business
use,
oriented, which is
they tend to
right.
be, yeah, because they're running a business, right?
Yep.
So, but even so, a lot of them are not very, I mean, you would not consider them savvy business people. I mean, they've made a living and they've covered for their family, but they're not studying the theories of business. Like they're just running their business every day. And so I agree with the approach. One of the terms, or one of the ways that we say it is, we'll make you payments over time.
That's a great way to say it.
And they are like, well, okay, I think I know what that means. Tell me more. Just like you said, it's like, well, what does that mean? And when they lean in and say, what does that mean? Then that's when you're able to like broker that conversation versus, hey, I'll just do seller financing because I don't know what that means. They don't know. They either know what it means and says no, or they don't know what it means. And a confused mind says no. So
100%. And but everybody listening, to add to all that, like I reiterate the point. You need to know what the seller wants before you
Yeah,
do anything. You want to show the seller that you care about them. Because if you only care about the money, then you might as well not even. I don't think you should be in the business. You're going to get eventually get pinched. If you're in the business to help people, help the seller get out of whatever problem they have, you're going to be very, very successful. And they're going to come back to you and say, "Hey, my brother-in-law, he has the same problem. Would you be
referrals.
able to help them?" Absolutely, I'll be able to help them.
One of the terms that we say when we talk to somebody is, "What else you got? What else you got?" Okay, you're selling this mobile home park. That's great. What else you got? You know anybody else has got anything else for sale?
It's a great follow-up question. Everybody must ask that.
Well, especially up from the south, so I can kind of lean into that. What else you got?
Hey, so what do you think about interest rates? I know it's kind of foreshadowed
Yeah,
that interest rates are supposedly coming down for the next 6 months at least.
yeah,
September they should be cutting, but what are your
yeah.
thoughts?
The early indicators certainly seems like they're going to do a cut. It's going to be like 25 basis points, and I think they're going to be really slow about it. They raised interest really fast. They're going to lower interest rates really, really slowly. Yeah. So I think we get one, maybe two in 2024, and they'll do however many they do in 2025, and they're just going to watch very slowly and very carefully. Very similar to the way they had treated the last year and a half, where they raised interest rates a few times, but they did it a lot much more slowly. The first few were so fast and so aggressive, right? Because they printed too much money, and so it affected inflation,
They sure
right?
did.
Yeah,
Way too much money.
and a lot of people say that they're waiting for things to get back to normal, and so I think inflation has come back down to a more reasonable, modest number, but prices are not going back down. Like inflation has happened, and whatever thing that you measure right now, that that's whatever the cost of that thing is, it's not going back down. Like it's they've printed the money, they've deflated the value of each dollar, and so that's not, until they take money back, we can't fix that.
You're 100% right. And if you think about it, inflation really started happening in 2021.
Yeah,
And every year, some years it was like 10%, and some months. Like,
a
so we're
month, a
looking at
month.
now
Yeah, yeah,
a month, yes. And so we're looking at the total inflation for the last 3 years, at least 20, maybe 30%. I'm noticing just like, oh my goodness, what in the world is this stuff? So just because it's not 10% anymore and it's only 3% increase, we still already up 30%. So that's not going
across
to
the
help
board. Yeah,
across the board. Now, here's a big key that I want everybody to realize, because Paul and I, we don't worry about our interest rate that we get. And the reason why is because we're not paying the interest. Like, I don't have to get a job and go pay the interest. We make sure that the deal works at whatever interest rate we get. I'll give you an example. I just bought a single family home. It's a short-term Airbnb outside of Nashville, so it's not in the metro area. So it's a
yeah.
much less saturated market. It's doing great because it's not inside the Nashville, but it's about 20 minutes away. Now, I got an 8% loan on a $420,000 house. I talked him down, got $20,000 in equity. Now, here's the great thing. Even at 8%, I would not have bought it if 8% did not work.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Like, it would not even, I don't care that it's 8% because my tenants are going to be paying for that. Now, here's the great thing. I'm making money at 8%, which is perfect. Same thing. I mean, multiply it out. If you got a large, 50 unit apartment complex, if you're making money at whatever interest rate you have, if it goes up from 8% to 14%, you're going to be thanking the Lord that you got an 8% interest rate back then. Like, wow, I'm so glad I did it. But if it goes down like it looks like it's going to, I'm going to refinance at a 5.5%. Hopefully, maybe the next 6 months, so it might go down there. Right now, I could literally
Hmm.
refinance and get a 6.5. So I'll be really
Yeah.
happy at 6.5. But time's on my side because I see interest rates are going to come down. Once it gets to 5.5, I'm going to be saving like $500 or $600 a month in passive income, or just in cash. That's passive
Right.
income back in my pocket. So no matter what the interest rate are, it's the deal that we focus on,
That pays for it.
not the interest rate.
The deal's got to pay for it. Yeah. So basically, we think about buying things in cap rates, and if you buy a property that operates at a 10 cap, you can borrow at 8%. If you buy a property that operates at a 4 cap, you can't borrow at 5%.
That's
Right?
a good rule of thumb. I never
Yeah.
thought of it that way.
You have
Awesome.
to buy the deal. Like if you're buy at cash, what's your cap rate? What's your performance of a cash? And then you run your numbers and figure out if what your cost of money is. And if your cost of money is ends up being more than your cap rate, then it will never cash flow. It's just, I mean, because what we're doing is we're playing we're arbitraging money between what we're buying it for, buying the asset that gives us this much cash back versus how much we're going to borrow money from. And when there's a gap there, we get the benefit, the upside of it, right? And that's how you create cash flow. Then it might appreciate. Then you get equity pay down, right? Then you get
Yeah,
tax advantages.
absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great, great perspective. I do like how you have a quick gauge, especially like if you have a huge apartment complex, 50, 60 units,
Yeah.
you have that where it's like, you know what, I need to get the price down because people might be thinking, well, I can't get that right now on any of these properties I'm seeing. Well, you need to negotiate. You need to get that price down
Yeah.
because if you need to get that cap rate in the right spot for your interest rate, then you got to pay less. And this is what I talk about with single family homes. Yeah, I know somebody said recently that cash flow is a myth. Like you can't make cash flow. I'm like, well, only if you're doing it wrong. If you're paying top
I was like,
dollar
yeah, you
or
can.
yes, you can. I live on that's literally what
Yeah,
I've
I was
been
like,
living on for the last like 7 years. And so if you need to get the cash flow up on a property, you need to get the purchase price down.
or the
And if you
terms,
can't
they're
do that
different.
on this property, you move on to the next one. Eventually you'll find a property, get the purchase price down enough
Yeah.
so that the cash flow is high enough.
Yeah. I agree with that. The only maybe plus one out of that, or you get the right terms that creates the cash flow.
Absolutely.
Right. So
100%.
because then I'm now borrowing at 3%, I'm borrowing from the seller's equity at 3%. Right. And so now I'm getting a six cap property, but I'm getting a 3% price of their equity back to me that's paid for with cash flow at 6%.
Love it. Absolutely. Now, a lot of people think that seller financing is tough. Like, how do we deal with the paperwork? Is it like something, especially with a larger complex, that a title company takes care of the paperwork? Do you have to hire lawyers? Because it seems like there's going
It's
to
a
be a
good
lot
question.
more than just a transaction.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the same paperwork is used when you get a loan. It's a promissory note and a security instrument like a mortgage, depending on what state you're in. It might be a deed of trust. And what we do is we usually do have an attorney draft it up. We have a format that we've used, forever and ever, and then we take it to an attorney in that state and just make sure that whatever version of that works in that state. I say you put your state stamp of approval on this because sometimes the terminology and just the way they structure things are different, and that way the seller feels comfortable that an attorney took care of it. Sometimes the title company will do it, but usually what they're doing is they're having the title company has an attorney on staff that will step in and create it for you. Yeah.
And what I love about it is you might be thinking, well, you're spending money on an attorney or you're spending money on this extra. Like, no, like they're going to make sure that you're not going to lose money in the end. That's what you got to look at. You're investing your money for the future. Just like I have some people say, man, do I really want to pay $300 for a home inspection on a single family home? Like,
It's like,
yes,
yes.
that's going to say $300. That's nothing compared to what you could lose if you don't get it.
Yeah, the what we're trying to avoid at all costs really is the risk of ruin, and you don't want to get into any kind of deal that's going to force you to lose your shirt. Because what happens when you lose on one deal, like going back to the Monopoly analogy, if you have like we all played on a Monopoly, and you're going around the board, and you're buying everything, and suddenly you get tight on cash, and you got to start trading and selling your houses and your hotels,
Ouch.
and you never recover, right?
You don't.
Yeah, and that's what happens. It's really hard to recover in the real world. There's a lot of corollaries between Monopoly and the real world. It's just simpler with Monopoly. You can see it better. But like once you start to have to sell your properties to to get your cash to pay rent to somebody else, then your house of cards comes crashing down.
Do you play Monopoly with your kids?
It's funny. I just bought an updated version of Monopoly because I'm gonna start using it in my short form videos. And they asked me, it's like, hey, can we play this? I was like, yes. Would you actually play Monopoly with this? And like, yeah, we would. I was like, I'm skeptical. They're 16 and 13. I think they're gonna last about 10 minutes, but we're gonna find out.
My kids play it on their own. They literally say, "Hey, Daddy, can we play Monopoly? Please go right ahead. Can you play?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm
Mm,
busy right now."
yeah,
And Monopoly takes a while, and
it
so it's
does.
just and we homeschool our kids, and so it's a part of education. I mean, I'm
I think
totally
so.
fine with them
Totally.
taking, yeah. And so they love playing it. They love playing. We play Cash Flow, Rich Dad's
Hmm.
Cash Flow.
Hmm.
They started with the kids version, which is so great for them to just get started at, like, 8 years old, 9 years old. Oh yeah, and then they kind of get the picture. Now they're playing full Cash Flow, and they're learning how to things that we're never taught. Monopoly, you're not taught in school. Cash Flow, we're definitely not taught in school. And so now being able to bless my children with education and also the properties. I will literally give my properties, the ones that I own free and clear, or ones that I don't have to refinance or sell. And so now I don't sell anything. I don't know about you, Paul. Like, what you tell me, like, what you think when you have a residential, do you sell it? Because I find once I sell it, then I don't make that money and I can't give it to my kids.
Yeah, I don't sell. I have a portfolio of about 40 rentals that I hang on to, and the only ones I sell are the ones that cause me a headache.
Yeah.
How when you want to buy 40 properties, there's one or two of them that for whatever reason just keep giving you a total hassle. And so I just sacrifice. Like once a year or once every couple of years, I just go back and look at my portfolio and was like, is there any of these that are just the 80/20 rule are just causing me more headache and not providing me enough income? I'll sacrifice those, especially if there's some equity in there, so I can then take that equity and buy a property I think will perform better.
The only properties that I've sold goes along the same lines of what you just said. I had a duplex that was just giving me a headache, getting fits, and it was just so bad. I was like, I hate selling it, but I went ahead and sold it. And I was relieved. I made a little bit of money. I didn't make a ton of money. I made, I don't know, 20% but that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted the relief of that burden of this property that just for whatever reason I was not doing well on it. Couldn't find the right property manager to do it right, whatever it might be. And so me, keeping my hair from turning gray, that's
Hmm.
always something that I look for.
Being able to sleep at night and not have to worry about this headache. Well, talking about sleep at night, let's let folks find out how they can come meet you in person and just see how energetic you really are at Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference for commercial real estate. Where can people find you?
Yeah, awesome. So you can definitely find and come get and hang out with Paul and myself at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, the multifamily commercial real estate investing. So go to rubcon.com, REWBCON, rubcon.com. And on there, use the promo code Paul. Use the promo code Paul. I'll literally give you 20% off of your pass. Our goal is to just help people to invest. And you'll see when you come to this event, the type of people that we bring together, just like Paul and myself, that are just giving, that just really want to help each other. Because in the end, Paul and I both believe as we help each other, I mean, a rising tide lifts all boats. So that's absolutely definitely, you need to be there at the event. So it's November 7th through the 9th, rubcon.com. I know Paul and I will put in the link in the description, but use the promo code Paul, get 20% off. But then you can also find me on my podcast, Master Passive Income. That's a podcast I've been doing since 2015, I think. And Paul,
Wow.
you've been on there a number of times, so we got to get you on there again. And oh, sorry, I'm posting this on mine as well. But one quick last thing. So I've been working on Instagram, and I love talking to people on Instagram. So you can reach out to me, DM me on Instagram, the Dustin Heiner, Dustin Heiner. And I know, Paul, I'm not that arrogant to be the only Dustin Heiner. It's the only handle I could come up
Same.
with.
I mean, I have the same similar problem is that I have a common name in Paul Thompson, so I had to do Paul David Thompson, and even that I can't get everywhere. It's like it's hard. Like I have the curse of a common name, but I did manage to get Paul David Thompson on Instagram, so you can find me there as well. And we can talk shop and figure out how to create our empires and build our little become real estate moguls, right?
Absolutely. And well, so I'm releasing this on my show. So definitely share everybody so that my people can hear how else they can find
Hmm.
you.
Yeah, so I am now the CEO of Real Estate 101. We specialize in commercial real estate. So you can find us at realestate101.com. And that's the numbers 101.com. And then you can find me on Instagram at Paul David Thompson.
Paul, been great chatting with you, man. And as always, good hanging out with you. And look forward to be able to hang out with you in November.
Yeah, everybody listen to this. Come hang out with us in Denver. Looking forward to it.
And that is it for today. Go ahead and get my free real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777. RENTAL to 33777. You can also join my Real Estate Wealth Builders group coaching, get all my courses. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next show. See ya.